You are listening to the Postcast, presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Glebe Central Pub. The Glebe Central Pub is your neighborhood pub in the heart of the Glebe. Join them for tasty food, great drinks, and an elite atmosphere. We can vouch for it now. The Glebe Central Pub. Check them out, 779 Bank Street, and make sure you let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller, and we have a busy postcast because we had a Senators debut. We'll talk about Julien Gauthier. We had a game that went back and forth for 37-ish minutes, and a great team that is now 29-0-3 when they score first, the Boston Bruins. The score, 3-1. The Boston Bruins outshoot Ottawa 32-31. Pilsy, how'd you feel as that one developed?
I actually thought that this was a decent game for the Ottawa Senators, considering you're going up against the best team in the NHL. This is a shell of what you wanted this roster to look like. And it was another great performance by Kevin Mandolese, in my opinion. And I think the first period, the Sens were toe-to-toe with the Boston Bruins. Second period, it started to slip away a little. And then the third period, Ross, you tweeted it out. They didn't have a shot on goal for about 10 minutes there, and they were just completely out of gas. And David Pastrnak shows why he's one of the best players in the NHL in this game, as he had two beauty goals.
He certainly did. Which one do you think was nicer? Or which one do you think Mando had less of a chance on?
Probably the breakaway. I mean, if David Pasternak's coming in on a breakaway and he already has 40 goals this season, you're probably not feeling too confident about yourself in that moment if you're Mando. No offense to him. That's just a major mismatch, one-on-one battle there. So that's the one that I didn't expect Mando to make a save there.
No, and especially after Pasternak's first goal was a snipe far side, you have to respect his shot. And for him to open it up 5-hole backhand tuck, that's one of the best breakaway players in the league, and he made no mistake. We'll talk about how this game went along, but something I found interesting, there was a parade to the penalty box in the first period, and then afterwards, only 2 penalties the rest of the game, both against Ottawa. Found that interesting as it developed. The Sens did get their chance, though. We don't talk about the refs on this show, but in terms of power play opportunities, 1 minute and 50 seconds. Pilsy, they didn't even get one good look on that man advantage. 2-man advantage.
No, I disagree with you, Ross. They had a great look, but Drake Batherson decided to pass it away. I mean, oh my God, what are you doing giving that puck away? I know he's trying to be creative and he sees, I think it was DeBrincat over there on that far side, but when you get 3 passes in the slot, you're going to run out of real estate eventually, and that's what happens there. I would have liked to see Drake Batherson just let that one go, as it seemed like he was scared to shoot the puck all night. There was multiple moments, Ross, where I'm putting my hands up in the air being like, does Drake want to get a shot on goal here, or is he going for some sort of assist record I'm not aware of? So that was a little frustrating for me.
And as Steve is saying in the chat, they did show on the bench, and DJ was giving it to Batherson after that play. And rightfully so. He looked like, what's the opposite of peak? Valley Jason Spezza when he was doing the no-look drop pass. And it's even worse when it's in the middle of the ice and the defense on a 5-on-3, you collapse the triangle when things get tight. And it's an easy clear. That was really dysfunctional of a man advantage that scored the second most power play goals in the National Hockey League all season. So uncharacteristic, but I don't know. What do they have? 1 5-on-3 goal maybe this year? I feel like they're better 5-on-4.
I know they have a 3-on-5 goal. Matthew Joseph, 5-on-3. I'm not sure, but I know a lot of people were frustrated you don't score there. And hey, the old saying is if you can't score on a 5-on-3, you don't deserve to win the game, especially on a 5-on-3. That's a minute and 50. And Ross, I'm just looking. I know Bergeron was the one that gets a penalty to make it. It was Craig Smith. But either way,
that's one of those penalties, too, that you usually score on when a guy trips your defenseman behind the offensive net. If you're Craig Smith, that's a bad penalty to take, and those usually are the ones that cost you.
Yeah, and having Bergeron in the box is something you definitely like to see for that power play. I actually thought their 5-on-3 was decent. It's just no one wanted to pull the trigger. Like, I thought they had good puck cycling. They did a really good job of switching guys at the blue line to really throw off the penalty killers and try to create lanes, but just too many passes. That was my big issue there.
That's probably the story of the game, is overpassing, because I felt that way in the third period as well. There were a couple of good looks, and they just couldn't put it away. in the back of the net past Linus Ullmark, except for the one highlight reel goal. Claude Giroux gets a goal. We'll go chronologically through this, but yeah, I think missed opportunities are the way to go. And then, hey, credit where it's due. Linus Ullmark is the Vezina favorite for a reason. That glove save, and I know it's on Dylan Gambrell, but after the enormous bone-crushing hit behind the net by Brady Tkachuk, centers it to Dylan Gambrell, and hey, credit where it's due for Ullmark on that save. He was full marks there. And one more note, just while we're on Ullmark.
Full mark Ullmark.
When's the last time you saw a goalie take a slap shot as a rim?
Yeah, that was a weird one, but hey, it was actually pretty good. Like, he got some good slice on it.
I wanted to get a radar on it. I wanted to say that was 85 miles an hour. It was flying.
I mean, when you're having a good year, you can do it all, eh? Jeez.
Hey, since we're on goaltending, before we get into the chronological order of this game and our Sens Central standouts and Julien Gauthier's Sens debut, take me through how you saw Mando's game tonight.
I thought he played really well, like we mentioned. A David Pastrnak breakaway. You might as well just skate to the bench and let him score, so there's no chance of getting injured there. Like, that's probably a safer play. The goal he scores on the power play, great shot. You're not going to stop that. And then I kind of forget what the other goal was there.
DeBrusk, he had the side angle shot, and Mando was kind of down. And the one thing I'll say, and this is potentially, a guy getting his feet wet and not wanting to look bad, having his angle off. But I thought that he could have challenged a little bit more on both the pass, the first goal, obviously the breakaway is its own thing, but also on the DeBrusk goal, because it was a tough angle initially. And he's doing what all these modern day goalies are taught, where you put your knee that's closest to the post down and just lean. But then it hit that and bounced right back to DeBrusk. And credit to him, he curl and drags it into his feet, and it opens up the far side. But if he's out challenging and on his feet, he's probably got a better chance of controlling that initial rebound. Pasta, you can just say, you know what, you're beat by one of the best shooters in the NHL. Sure, I'll allow that. But I do think if he's watching video, that's probably how he would see it. I think saying, hey, you know what? I need to be one step further out, and I might be able to cut off, because it's a game of not inches, millimeters when you're playing goalie against players like David Pastrnak. So all in all, though, I thought it was great. Man, how about that cross seam save on David Krejci in the first period that kept it 0-0 at the time? That was enormous. And I thought that the team was going to respond for him there. But unfortunately, other plans, at least until Giroux answered the DeBrusk goal. Okay, before we get to that chronological breakdown of the game, Pilsey's standing by with some news and notes. I know Pilsey's a big notebook guy. I've opened mine up too. But first, a quick word from our friends at the Glebe Central Pub. You can find them at 779 Bank Street, and go check out their website, glebecentralpub.com, for all the shuttles they have to and from the CTC this season. $15 gets you round trip. We know Sue, the bus drivers, got the city of Ottawa embedded, all the driving routes embedded into her brain. She was cruising, beating traffic, unbelievable experience, got us there in one piece and on the way back. Super easy to use system. Just go check it out. $15 ticket. You get your wristband. Head to the pub, grab some wings, grab some buffalo chicken wrap and a pint, and then get on the Glebe Central Pub shuttle. You can find them at 779 Bank Street. When you go, make sure you let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. It's the Glebe Central Pub, 779 Bank Street, and make sure you tell them Locked On Senators sent you.
We're also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel, the sponsor, the official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. They're the number one sportsbook in North America and official sportsbook of the NFL. Not too bad. And I was mentioning to you guys, my bet I like to do on FanDuel is first to 5 shots. And believe it or not, Ross, the Sens actually hit that one again today. So that's a fun one to bet. Just so you hope the boys are getting it going early and snapping in on the net, nice crispy shots to get it going. So that's just one of the fun things you can do on FanDuel. They got a great app. It's simple, safe, and easy to use. You can do same game parlays to have a bigger chance at bigger payouts. So guys, check it out. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel.
You are listening to the Postcast after a 3-1 Sens loss to the Boston Bruins in Boston, where you have to tip your cap. That team is solid,
Yeah.
and they shut it down in the third period. Not a whole lot of anything. How about the long reach on so many of their defenders? This Derek Forbert, just a bear, impossible. And it's almost, you could call him for holding probably half the time, but he just like pins guys behind the net. And what are you going to do? He had Ridley Gregg a couple times, Shane Pinto as well. And these guys are just kind of stuck walking quicksand. I didn't even realize Lindholm's got a bit of bite to him. I don't know if that
Yeah.
Brady Tkachuk hit woke him up a little bit. I always kind of considered him more of a smooth skating puck mover, but he's got some bite in his own zone. So you know what? This was a hat tip game, and in my opinion, a schedule loss we talked about yesterday. But I thought they battled hard. The Ottawa Senators did, and with that, let's get to the game summary. The opening goal, Pilsy. What'd you see on Jake DeBrusk? We kind of described this one already, but how did you feel that impacted the momentum at the mid to late part of the first period?
Well, the momentum was already skewed when the Bruins killed that 5-on-3. Like that, for me, I would almost say, Ross, that was the TSN turning point of the game. Because if the Sens score there, especially if they score on the first power play and then have an extended power play, you're looking at a much better chance that this team at least can fend the Bruins off and have a closer game near the end. But on that first goal, yeah, I think out of the three, that's one Mando probably wants back. But that's just a heads-up play by DeBrusk. I don't think DeBrusk is trying to score on that first shot at all. That's a self-pass. He's like, I'm going to knock it off his pads, and I'm going to be the first one to that rebound, and it's going to surprise him, and then I'll be able to beat him there. So, you know what? Again, just tip your cap. Great play by a really nice player in Jake DeBrusk, who I think is probably pretty stoked that his trade request didn't go through last trade deadline, because he's having a great time and has a decent 2-year, $4 million AAV deal right now with the great Boston Bruins team.
Afterwards, it's a Sens power play. Brady hits the post, and then the Bruins get a 2-on-1. And we've been hard on Thomas Chabot. And there were some moments in this game where I think we could still be hard on Thomas Chabot. But this was an excellent read on the 2-on-1, where he just picks the pass off and they get down going the other way. After that power play, the Sens respond. A momentum goal for the Sens for a change, which was great to see at the end of a period. 30 seconds left. I didn't know Dylan Gambrell had that type of soft touch in him. But then the move for Claude Giroux to sneak that, make sure that no defenseman was able to converge on him like the Bruins are really good at. And he just put it right through the wickets of Linus Ullmark.
Yeah, that's a great play there. And you got to credit Gambrell. That's an awesome forecheck that he continues to battle. He gets the puck and he has the awareness to hit Giroux. And Giroux just amazing hockey IQ and instincts, knows to do that backhand deke, and then he beats Ullmark there with a quick shot. So that's a nice play. And Ross, we'd already talked about Brady Tkachuk setting up Dylan Gambrell for a great opportunity, and then Gambrell setting Giroux up. It is wild that Dylan Gambrell is on the ice at the same time as these two guys.
It kept seeing like he would sneak out there, like they just kind of roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and then he seemed, I guess, the last guy out.
Yeah.
And they changed that in the third period, and we'll get to that as the Sens try to come from behind. But good flow in the start of the second period. Couple nice saves from Mando. This is where I started noting, like, man, he looks calm in there. It's such a great feeling. It's that Craig Anderson-esque feeling where you're just confident he's going to make saves and make them look easy. And that's how I was feeling with Mando at the start. Shots were 6-1 Boston in the first 6 minutes of the period, and that's where he had that backdoor play. So it was when it was 1-1. I knew it was tied at the time. I think I said 0-0 earlier, but it was a 1-1 game at the time. And then Zub dives to break up a play. Tkachuk has that play behind the net. That's when I think that the Sens started carrying the play while it was 1-1. They get that save on Gambrell by Ullmark, and then even after that, they were controlling play. Tkachuk had that partial breakaway where the puck was still rolling on him a little bit, and he had no speed from the blue line in, so he had to probably get rid of it a little sooner than he would have liked. But after that, David Pastrnak went to work.
Yeah, I mean, like we mentioned.
You know, it wasn't even Pastrnak that went to work. It was Charlie McAvoy, a little spin cycle.
It wasn't even, it was a spin cycle plus a fake shot. Like, he fake shots it and lets it go through his legs and then spins around. And DeBrincat, he's right there with him, but he is not expecting that. So he gets beat, and then it's a perfect feed to David Pastrnak on the far side there. And Charlie McAvoy, this kid is absolutely incredible. Sens fans got to see him firsthand when he entered the NHL in a playoff series and stood his own. But McAvoy had 3 assists on 3 goals in this game, Ross. What a player.
Sick player. And Steve mentioned as well, he's a beast. He really is. Like, he was physically involved in this game. He was standing up for his teammate when Shabbat went a little high on Pastrnak. He was the first guy in there. He's a treat to watch. And you look at that. Don't pull up the 2016 NHL.
Don't do it.
Because McAvoy and Chikrin are right there, right behind Logan Brown. Verbal meme, LeBron James looking at J.R. Smith when he called that timeout. Like, they're right there. Come on.
One of those 2 defensemen right there.
Oh, my goodness. But all in all, yeah, it's just, I keep going back to just wanting to tip my hat to the skill and poise of some of these players on the Boston Bruins. But yeah, no, I was going to say they bounced back after that. But really, once Boston got the lead 2-1 late in the second period, it was shut the lights off, make sure you lock the door on your way out. Like, we are going to bore you into a little nap here in the third period. And that's kind of what they did. There was a little bit of push with the goalie pulled. Obviously, you have the man advantage. They were able to set up. Again, no real dangerous opportunities on goal, but the overpassing kind of complicated it for themselves. But you know what? They battled. I think that's what we can say here in this game. The Ottawa Senators battled.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm okay with the effort. This was a game we were going into thinking it's a scheduled loss, and really a 3-1 loss, nothing to really get too down about here. They make a good push at the end. So, yeah, it's a big difference from a 7-2 win at home yesterday, 3-1 loss on the road, but away she goes.
Kevin Mandolese makes 29 saves. The Sens get dummied in the faceoff dot. That doesn't happen often. The Sens win 41% of the draws in this. They out-hit Boston 34-30. All the like counting stats were pretty close outside of faceoffs. Really, 1 shot separated them, 2 penalty minutes, 4 hits, 4 blocks, 2 giveaways. Like, all across the board there on NHL, it's all pretty similar. But the bottom line is David Pastrnak scored his 40th and 41st goal of the year. Unbelievable. Whereas Claude Giroux scored the goal for Ottawa, and that's his 14th point in his last 11 games. He is now 24 points away. The road to 1,000 points continues for Claude Giroux, and a beauty at that. If you're listening in the car the next day, pull over the side of the road and pull up that goal. Absolute beauty from Claude Giroux. I think that brings us into our Sens Central Citizen standouts presented by the Glebe Central Pub following this 3-1 loss to the Boston Bruins. Pilsy, who is your number 1 standout in tonight's game?
I'm glad you passed it over to me because I'm going to take the easy one. It's Kevin Mandolese again. I mean, his second NHL start, big task in the second half of a back-to-back game up against Boston Bruins, and in no way, shape, or form is this loss on Mando. I thought he played very, very well, especially for a young, inexperienced goalie. Pasta beats him twice. The Jake DeBrusk one, that's a quick heads-up play. He kept his team in the game. I've got a couple notes where he makes big saves. Like he had a huge save on David Krejci right out front. And then a little while earlier, Mando had a massive pad save on a Pasta one-timer as well. So you got to really give credit to Kevin Mandolese, a guy that's been playing in the ECHL this year, and now he stands up to the task with the Boston Bruins with a weak Ottawa Senators lineup on the road, second half of back-to-back. So for me, it's easy. I thought he was the best player for the Sens this game.
Yeah, I'll echo that sentiment. I'm smiling because I think this is the first time I've given this player a Sens Central standout since we started doing the postcast on December 1st of 2021, Pilsy. It's still in Gambrell for me. It's still in Gambrell for me. Only 8 minutes and 31 seconds at even strength at 5-on-5 in this game. He had the best Corsi percentage on the team, the best expected goals percentage on the team. He had a primary assist that was an absolute beauty. And then I would argue that he also had the best scoring chance in the game beyond that, the glove save we talked about in the second period. So he was all around the puck tonight. Maybe he sees with the trade deadline looming, hey, I could play myself onto a contender, maybe get a 7th round pick that the Sens gave up to get him from San Jose. Who knows? But I just liked his game tonight, and credit where it's due. I've been kind of maybe not hard on him, but kind of what are you doing here? What do you even do here, man? But he showed today that he did have a bit of value for him. So I'm going with Dylan Gambrell. How do you do in the dot? Not going to bring that one
Not
up.
good, yeah.
Nobody.
My honorable mention would be Brady. I thought Brady had a really good game. He
Yep.
had that breakaway. I needed one more shot from him to hit a parlay of David Pastrnak and Brady Tkachuk over a 4.5 shots. I thought for sure with one shot left needed in the third period, he was going to get one shot in the third period. Nonetheless, didn't happen. But I think overall he did really good. You mentioned that hit where he did Lindholm has the puck behind the corner. He's kind of lackadaisical about it. Well, keep your head up, kid. When Brady Tkachuk's on the ice, you're not going to be able to get away with that. And he levels Lindholm and then sets up Gambrell there. So definitely a good game by Brady in my mind.
Do you have a second one, or is this a one guy standout?
I don't have a second honorable mention. No, I do not.
Brady Tkachuk, fair enough. I'll just say Claude Giroux then as an
Yeah,
honorable
fair.
mention.
Yeah.
The Sens lose 3-1, and now they're off for the next 4 days. All right, Pilsy, final thing for me is Julien Gauthier. What did you think of his performance here? His Senators debut, played .957, had 2 hits, 2 shots on goal, and was -1.
You know what? I actually thought he was all right. Did he blow the doors off? Did he move the needle much? No. But those 2 shots he got, I thought he used his legs. He used his big frame to drive wide and drive towards the net and got a decent shot off. I thought he played a little bit more physical than people gave him credit for. When McAvoy was going to go after Shabbat, Gauthier was in there holding him back. These are all very, very small things, but for an $800,000 player, he did what he was expected to do. I think I'm going to warm up to the Julien Gauthier acquisition here because he's almost half the price of Tyler Mott. Not a math guy. That's not 100% accurate, but he's an RFA. He's 25. He's a big body. Those are the kind of guys you need on your fourth line. He's got some potential that maybe he hasn't quite reached yet. So overall, decent showing from Gauthier in my mind. And I did like I forget if it was Gord Miller or Pooley, but when he slips and falls, I think it was Pooley, our guy, friend of the show, and he goes to the bench and right away, you got to get the trainer to look at those skates. I don't care if your skates are in tip-top shape, if there's nothing wrong. Get the trainer to look at it and be like, there's got to be an equipment malfunction here. That was not me just sliding on my ass and embarrassing myself.
No doubt. And I see some people, Alex, notably in the comments, just kind of, what did Julien Gauthier do? And I would raise you that and say, what does Tyler Mott do? What's he been doing the last 3 months? Not a whole lot.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing. I'm not sitting here being like, Sens win the trade. Let's go. This is going to push them to getting closer to the P word in the wild card race. No, it's not that. He's an $800,000 25-year-old. He was okay.
Exactly. He was okay. And I mean, you saw the frame, you saw the speed. And that's, I guess, all I can really say about Julien Gauthier. We're going to save some for our episode tomorrow, Locked On Senators. We got a couple good guests lined up in the next couple weeks. Obviously, we're going to be reporting live from the sand next week at the resort down in Mexico, and that'll be fun in and of itself with trade deadline becoming closer and closer. But Pilsy, what are your final thoughts after this one?
Final thoughts are, I think it's great that the Ottawa Senators are going to get a bit of a break here. I think this stretch for them, especially with injuries, especially when you get the back-to-back with young goalies here, it's nice they're going to get 3 days off before heading on the road to Carolina. So just take the scheduled L. Don't get too down about it. And hopefully we get to see Cam Talbot coming up in this next back-to-back. Not that Mando or Sogard were a reason for any struggles, and both of them played really great, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of them. But Cam Talbot, this is going to be very interesting to see what the Ottawa Senators do with him coming up down the stretch.
Yeah, and we hope Jake Sanderson can come back soon too, because I've seen enough of Jacob Larson. Like I've really seen enough of Jacob Larson in the NHL.
Yeah, that's 100% fair. Yeah,
and took in the first period. I mean, like he loses the puck and then he's like, "Well, I'm going to look bad if he goes down on a breakaway, so I'm just going to pin you here." That's a penalty I took in beer league, and I felt like an idiot. So I can't.
He just gets beat there, and he knows it. That's tough there, and the pairing of Brandstrom and Zub has not worked either, which is crazy, Ross, because last year Zub was our litmus test. Like, okay, if you can play with Zub, you're going to be fine. if Zub can help you, if Zub can stabilize you, but Zub hasn't been that stabilizing guy. It hasn't worked with Tom Shabbat, hasn't worked with Branson. Now, I'm not saying he's been bad, but he hasn't been that kind of structured stability guy that we've known him to be, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. But hopefully they can get a little healthier, and Cam Talbot would be nice. You got to win one of these games, though, to show that you're the real deal. And I'm not like getting on them for this one, but go out there and beat Carolina. You're going to have 3 days off right now. Friday night.
At least get the point. At least bring it past regulation, because you got the Habs after, Ross. So that's one that I would basically call that a must win. You cannot let that one slip through. The Habs.
Well, and it would give the season sweep for the Habs.
Which is also great. Are the Habs wearing their royal baby blue jerseys? I hope so. Oh, boy.
No, they're done. They're done with those for the year.
Damn.
Yeah. Well, we'll have more on tomorrow's Locked On Senators. Appreciate everyone for spending some of their family day long weekend, or as we say in Manitoba, Louis Riel Day. I learned that today. But we really do appreciate everyone for sticking with us. I see there's lots of hot takes going on in the chat. We're going to look at those and get some of them in tomorrow's Locked On Senators. You can find that wherever you download your podcast or on YouTube. And if you missed any of the Postcast live, that's available for you for replay wherever you download yours. We're going to be watching practice lines very closely. I would imagine they're off tomorrow, 3 games in 4 nights after that, flying home, get tomorrow off. But Wednesday, it'll be interesting to see if Sanderson is back, if Cam Talbot is there, and a whole lot more. So thank you for spending some time with us. The Sens lose 3-1. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. Let's get some Go Sens Go. I like that. Some Go Sens Go in the chat here. We said going in, the Sens are sniffing around in the playoff hunt, and that's irregardless whether or not they get the 2 points in this game. They don't, but I'm still just as confident as I was before the game. So let's keep that energy here as we roll into another week, a 4-day week if you're a Monday to Friday, because you get the Monday off. That's always nice. And then a Friday, Saturday back-to-back in Carolina. And then they got the Montreal Canadiens on Saturday. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Glebe Central Pub. The Glebe Central Pub in the heart of the Glebe. Check them out, 70 to 79 Bank Street, and let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. It's Locked On Senators, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.